Money doesn't fix monsters, it just gives them better suits. Hi, I'm Nora Bennett, born and raised in Fort Collins, Colorado, and what happened to me this spring still plays in my head like a film I can't pause. 3 months ago, I signed papers that flipped my life upside down, an inheritance I never expected from a man I barely knew. It should have saved my marriage. Instead, it peeled the paint off every lovely lie I'd been living in. You ever feel that cold rush when a truth shows up uninvited? That day, it walked in wearing a tie and handed me a number that made my stomach drop. $12.8 million. The attorney said, "Congratulations." But all I could think about was the overdue gas bill in our kitchen drawer, and the way my husband, Evan, had started talking to me like I was furniture that got in his way. The attorney's office smelled like lemon polish and old leather. Outside, late snow braided across the foothills, and inside, I signed my name with a pen that probably cost more than every shirt in our closet combined. "Use it wisely," the attorney, Ms. Delgado, said. "Your great-uncle Walt was particular." I half laughed because I'd met Walt exactly twice. Once at a family funeral, where he criticized the eulogy's grammar, and once when I was 14 and he taught me to shuffle cards without flashing the bottom. Walt liked precision. Walt liked order. Walt left me everything. I should have called Evan on the spot. I should have texted him a photo of the wire confirmation and said, "Hey, we're free." But a strange thing happened. My hands started shaking, not from joy, from dread. Because money doesn't erase character, it spotlights it. And lately, Evan had this grinding edge to him, like he'd been practicing his disappointment in me in the mirror every morning. I walked out hugging a folder full of documents, the kind that hiss secrets when the elevator doors close. On impulse, I ducked into a shop on College Avenue and bought Evan a watch he'd eyed last year. Steel, thin, elegant, the kind he said a real executive wears. I thought, naively, if I presented the future with a bow, we'd step into it together. I set the purple gift box on the passenger seat and called him. "Ev? What?" He sounded rushed, like I was a pop-up ad. I have news. Big good news. Can it wait? I'm in a meeting. With who? He exhaled, that sigh he used like a blade. People who value my time. I swallowed. I'll be home in 20. You'll want to hear this. Fine. Click. I told myself he was stressed. People get sharp when they're afraid. Maybe we were both afraid. I merged onto the highway, snow skimming the asphalt like confetti that forgot it was supposed to be festive. The gift box slid. I caught it. A truck roared to my left. My phone pinged. A text from an unknown number. "Make sure he signs before midnight." I frowned, heart spiking. Before I could even process the wrongness, headlights swallowed my rear view. A horn split the air. Then metal screamed. The world whipped into white noise and shattering glass. It's a strange thing to have two thoughts in the moment your life breaks. Don't drop the watch, and who sent that text? When I came back, it was to beeping, to a throat like sandpaper, to a ceiling made of hard light. A nurse with cinnamon eyes said, "You're at Poudre Valley. You were in a collision. You've got a fractured clavicle, ribs, concussion. You're lucky." Lucky felt like a dare. I held it in my mouth and tried to swallow. "Evan?" I rasped. "My husband?" She looked toward the door. "We've left messages." "He hasn't come?" Another look. The kind people learn after years in hospitals. The kind that says, "I'm not the one who should answer that." I turned my face to the wall and listened to the machines insist I was still here. By the second day, the morphine made time a watercolor. Between waves, I replayed that text. "Make sure he signs before midnight." Signs what? A discharge form? A waiver? My pulse climbed every time I pictured Evan's face when I showed him the truth. That we were okay. Actually, more than okay. I kept scrolling my broken phone with clumsy thumbs, looking for him. No missed calls, no voice notes. Just 3 Venmo requests from our landlord and a cheery coupon for 20% off athletic socks. On the 3rd morning, I tried again. "Hey," I whispered when he answered on the 4th ring. "It's me." "I know who it is," he said. "I'm in the middle of something. I'm in the hospital." I heard. Will you come?" Silence. Then, flat as winter, "I don't have time to babysit a train wreck." The monitor tattled on me, beeping fast. I pulled air in like it might run away. "Evan, what are you saying?" "I'm saying you always were dead weight, Nora. Maybe it's good this happened. Maybe you'll finally get serious about not ruining my life. Ruining? The word snagged on a sob I refused to give him. I was hit. I could have... Look, I need clean financials by next week. Mine, not yours. Don't touch my accounts. And stop calling me. The line went dead. My chest felt torn open again, but quieter. You can't argue with a void. Nurse Janelle, she insisted I call her that, pulled up a chair. You want me to call someone else? My sister and I haven't spoken, I said. My mom's in Arizona with her new boyfriend and a timeshare. There's my friend Tash. Say the word. 10 minutes later, Tasha barreled through the door in a puffy coat and righteous fury. Who do I fight? She demanded. Start with the snow, I tried to joke, but my voice trembled. I told her about the call, about the text, about the inheritance I still hadn't said out loud to anyone. Like if I spoke it, it would evaporate. Tasha listened the way good people do, with her whole face. We document everything, she said when I finished. We pull phone records, we screenshot, we screen record. And we do not tell Evan $1 more than he deserves to know. He deserves to know I'm alive, I said. So soft I almost missed it. Maybe, she said. But that's not the same as deserving access to you. By evening, I had the attorney's folder on my lap and a plan scrawled on a legal pad. We'd loop in Ms. Delgado, we'd freeze any joint accounts. We'd ask the hospital to add a note, no visitors named Evan Bennett. The charge nurse nodded. Seen worse, she said. Seen better. We'll keep you safe. At 8:17 p.m., I received a photo message from an unknown number. Evan at a bar, glass raised, arms slung around a woman with sable hair, and a smile that looked expensive. The caption, "To fresh starts." The timestamp made my stomach flip. It was taken the night of my crash. I pinched the image, zoomed. The woman's necklace was a slim, silver wishbone. Something in my chest went cold. My mother has that same pendant. She wears it in every photo from the 90s, a little good luck bone, she swears, brought her out of a trailer and into a mortgage. The woman's eyes, God, no. Too big a leap, Nora, too dangerous. But grief has hands, and it was already rummaging. Ms. Delgado arrived the next day with a sleek laptop and an older man in a camel coat. Her investigator, Mr. Rios. First, she said, placing a warm hand over mine, I'm glad you're alive. Then she opened a file. Second, your husband has visited my office twice in 2 days, with forms he wanted me to sign on your behalf. Power of attorney. A quitclaim deed on your house. We rent, I said automatically. He brought one anyway. Her jaw tightened. He also had a copy of your marriage certificate. Is that a crime now? My humor cracked in the middle. Not a crime, Rios said, voice dry. But the one he waved yesterday was dated 5 years before your actual wedding. He's testing which pieces of paper move which doors. I tasted bile. He knew about the inheritance? Delgado exchanged a look with Rios. He knew to ask for it. He used the number, 12.8. I shut my eyes. Snow skittered down the window like spilled salt. Ms. Delgado, I said, this is going to sound crazy, but could you pull any info about a woman named... I stopped, the name sour on my tongue. About a local boutique manager, late 20s, dark hair, silver wishbone necklace? Rios's eyebrows climbed. You've got a name, we can work fast. I did. I hated that I did. Ava Hart. The letters felt like a bruise. He wrote it down. We'll be back. By Saturday, a rhythm formed. Physical therapy, phone calls, tiny bites of food that tasted like cardboard. I practice-breathed like Janelle taught me, 4 in, 4 hold, 8 out, while my mind flicked through broken reels of memory. The text, the bar photo, Evan's voice saying the word babysit. At noon, Rios returned with a binder and a look that told me I wouldn't like what was inside. Ava Hart, he said, flipping to a glossy printout. Manager at Larkin Finch on Oak Street. Prior, assistant floor lead at a Denver jewelry store. Lives in a condo on Riverside. He hesitated. Her file flagged another record. What record? My mouth went dry. County Court. Name change petition at 19. She was born Ava Green. Mother, Melissa Green. My heart stuttered. Melissa Green was my mother's maiden name. Rios slid over a photocopy. My mother, 30 years younger, smiled from a DMV photo beside the name Melissa June Green, listed under children, Nora Bennett, Ava Green. No, I said, but it came out like a question. No, my mother never, Delgado's voice gentled. Families hide things that turn to dynamite when the fuse gets lit. I pressed knuckles to my eyes. If she's my half-sister, and I am not saying she is, but if she is, Evan would know I'd care. He'd know it would break me. Rios nodded once. He's been meeting Ava regularly for the last month. Security cams caught them at a coffee shop, a law office, her condo's garage. We also pulled his search history tied to his work login. He tapped a page. Brake fluid corrosion, temporary disabling of dash cams, blackmail statutes. The room tilted. I swallowed hard and found the thread of my breath like it was buried in snow. He sabotaged my car? Can't prove it yet, Rios said, but he's learning how one would. Delgado leaned in. Nora, I need you to hear me. We can't let him near your signature. We'll file emergency orders. We'll lock down the inheritance in a trust he can't touch. But if Ava is, my voice broke, if she's family, then she is innocent in this. Maybe he lied to her. Maybe he spun it. Maybe, Delgado said. Or maybe she's his partner. I tasted copper. He always used to say I made him feel small, I whispered. I thought it was the student loans, the scrappy apartment, the grind, but I think what he meant was I couldn't be bent into the shape he wanted. Janelle breezed in, eyes flicking from my face to the binder. Bad news? Just news, I said. That's worse sometimes. That afternoon, Tasha showed me Evan's newest post, a hand dragging a suitcase across hardwood. Caption, clearing out old chapters. The comment beneath from Ava H., proud of you. If you've never felt your heart try to climb out of your chest, I don't recommend it. I texted my mother because masochism wears lots of outfits, and sometimes it looks like maybe she'll tell me the truth this time. Mom, did you have another child? The typing dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Call me. The call lasted 6 minutes and took 10 years off my life. She danced, she deflected, she cried about how hard the past had been, about how my father never met a drink he couldn't love, about the winter the pipes burst. Finally, she exhaled the truth like a cigarette. Yes, Nora, I had a baby with a man whose name I will not say because I've already said it too many times. Your grandmother made me put her up with Melissa's cousin. And you were so little, I couldn't explain. I thought about telling you every year. Then every year I didn't. What's her name? Ava, she whispered, and I had to sit down even though I was already in a bed. I saw her once when she was 5. Wishbone necklace, same as mine. I sent it in a shoebox with a birthday card. I laughed then, wet, ugly, because the world is a deeply unfunny comedian. Evan is with her, I said. He's using her to get to me. Silence. A rustle. Then, well, at least she has good taste. Mom, she cleared her throat. I'm sorry, baby, for all of it. I hung up before the apology could curdle into defense. I let the machines hum around me while rage cooled into something with edges. I looked at Tasha. We set a trap. Her eyebrows flew up. Now we're talking. We didn't call it a trap when we wrote it down. We called it structured contact. Delgado drafted a letter, soft, credible, terrified, innocent, asking Evan to come sign hospital payment agreements because bills were stacking up. It hinted that I was overwhelmed, that I needed temporary help, that I was open to ceding decisions for a little while. If greed is a compass, it always points to paper. We scheduled the meeting for 6:15 p.m., and when night nurses are busiest and visitors think no one's watching. Rios placed a discreet recorder in the privacy curtain and another under the water carafe. Tasha tucked my phone inside a tissue box with the camera peeking. I practiced my lines like a woman auditioning to survive. Janelle squeezed my hand. You don't have to perform for him. I'm not, I said. I'm performing for the judge who'll watch the playback. At 6:12, the door opened and Winter walked in wearing a navy coat. Evan looked upgraded. New haircut, watch flashing, cufflinks that didn't know we once paid rent by counting coins in the glove box. He smiled at me like I'd wandered into his vision board. "Nora," he said, voice honeyed. "Look at you." "I'm here," I said. I made my voice small because it made his bigger, because big men get careless when they feel large. He set down a leather folio. "I brought what we discussed." "We didn't discuss anything." "Come on," he said, soft chuckle, shared joke. "Let's not pretend. Show me where to sign so I can take this off your plate." "Take what?" I asked. "Everything," he said, and for a second his face went naked with desire. "The bills, the assets, the accounts your uncle left you." "Oh?" I blinked. "Who told you that?" "A little bird," he said, smile slicing. "Money has a way of talking to men like me." He slid a stack across my tray. Power of attorney, access to medical records, authorization to move funds for the benefit of the patient. The line where my name should be trembled, my imagination, but the signature already looked like mine. My palms sweated. He'd practiced. "Evan," I said, letting a tear glass my lashes. "What if I mess up and sign wrong?" He leaned in, familiar cologne turned sour. "Then I'll fix it like I always do." I flinched, not because it hurt, because the sentence remembered every slammed cupboard, every "don't embarrass me," every night he'd gone quiet with disdain because I couldn't pay a bill by sheer will. The door creaked again and a silhouette hovered. Ava stepped in, wishbone catching the fluorescent light. She looked young enough to be one of my high school seniors on a campus tour, bright and brittle and eating compliments for breakfast. Her eyes met mine and flickered. Recognition? Family? Or just another woman reading a disaster scene for exits? "Brought witnesses?" I asked lightly. "She's here to notarize," Evan lied smoothly. Ava lifted her chin. "I'm here to make sure she isn't pressured." A laugh leapt out of me, wild, disbelieving. "By whom?" Ava's gaze slashed to Evan and back. "By anyone." I pushed the papers back with a fingertip. "I have one condition," I said. "Name it," Evan breathed. "You sign something first." A tick jumped in his cheek. "What?" "That you will not transfer or spend any funds from any account with my name on it without written permission from Ms. Delgado." "Who?" he snapped, then smoothed. "Nora, baby, lawyers complicate things." "She makes them legal." He tried to smile it back into his shape. "I'll sign it after you sign these." I shook my head. "Together." A vein pulsed at his temple. He reached for my wrist, gentle at first, then a notch harder, the kind of pressure that leaves purple in the shape of fingers. "Don't be dramatic." I felt something dark and old uncoil inside me, the part of me that sat in a bathroom in our first apartment, counting my breaths because he'd made the world so small. I met his eyes and did not look away. "Let go, Evan." Ava moved, tiny, instinctive. "Hey." He released me and pasted on a sheepish look. "Sorry, emotions. I'm worried." "Sign," I said, "or get out." The mask slipped. "You always did enjoy ruining a perfectly good opportunity." "I enjoyed telling the truth," I said. "You hated that part." He snatched up the pen. "Fine." He scribbled his name on the promise not to move funds. "Happy?" Ecstatic. I reached for my own pen and then let it clatter to the floor. As he crouched, Rios stepped in with a uniformed officer from hospital security. Delgado followed, calm as a winter pond. "Evening, Mr. Bennett," she said. "While you were busy, we obtained a temporary protective order and a financial injunction. Also, the documents you brought contain forged iterations of Nora's signature. We have your prints on them now." "Thank you." Evan's face emptied out. "You set me up." "No," I said, voice steady. I finally stood up. Ava's hand flew to her necklace. "Evan, what is this?" He didn't look at her. "We're leaving." "You're not," the security officer said. "Not with those papers." Evan's smile came back, rabid around the edges. "You think a hospital cop and a desk lawyer can stop me? You forget who I am." Rios tilted his head. "We know exactly who you are. We have your searches, your texts, your meetings with Ms. Hart, and the bar photo you posted the night of Nora's crash with the caption 'Fresh Starts.' Prosecutors love narrative. You gave them one. Ava stared at him like he'd started speaking German. You posted that night? Don't be naive, he said sharp. We were already... Already what? I asked softly. Replacing me or using her to hurt me? You can feel a reveal before you hear it. The air changes temperature. The walls lean in. Ava's face was doing the math in public. The necklace, my mouth, she had it. The way I said her name like I'd been rehearsing it since kindergarten. Why do you look like my mother? She blurted, and I swear the fluorescent lights flickered. I don't, I said automatically, because denial is a warm blanket on a frozen lake. Then I folded it back and told the truth. I look like yours. She blinked 3 times, long, like she was rebooting. What? My mother is Melissa Green, I said. She had a baby after me. She named her Ava. A sound left Ava's throat, half laugh, half injured animal. That's not... It can't... She fumbled in her purse and pulled out a photo, creased and loved to death. A young woman with my bones and my mother's eyes cradled a newborn. The wishbone gleamed at her throat. My vision tunneled. I know that face, I whispered. She never smiled that way at me. Evan swore under his breath. This is ridiculous. For once, Delgado said, it's relevant. Ms. Hart, would you step into the hall with me? You don't have to be part of this. Ava didn't move. She pinned Evan with a stare that could strip paint. Did you know? He shook his head too fast. Of course not. How could I? You told me you had a line into Nora's family, she said, voice steadying. You told me you could help me meet the people who made me. You said, her voice wobbled and she gripped the rail. You said she owed me. Evan's jaw worked. I said she owed the world. She sits on a fortune she doesn't know how to use. Correction, I said. I know exactly how to use it now. Ava turned to me. If you're my sister, why didn't you look for me? I swallowed a stone. I didn't know you existed. Her laugh was a crack in ice. Lucky you. I'm sorry, I said, every cell meaning it. I'm sorry for everything our mother didn't say and everything I didn't know to ask. She opened her mouth, closed it. Tears guttered her liner. He said you were weak, she whispered, that you'd sign whatever if it meant people liked you. Evan barked a laugh. And now you see the performance. Ava flinched. I see a woman who almost died while you were getting drunk. Evan moved fast, faster than I remembered, grabbing the folio, reaching for the papers. The security officer stepped in. Evan shoved him. The corner of the folio clipped my clavicle and the world sparked. Pain shot bright. The heart monitor tattled again. Rios seized Evan's forearm. Evan swung. The officer pinned him to the rail with practiced ease. Let me go, Evan snarled, spittle bright. This is between my wife and me. No, I said, and my voice was a door slamming. This is between you and the law. Delgado's phone buzzed. She glanced, nodded to the officer. PD's downstairs. They want him for questioning on attempted fraud and interference with a protected patient. Evan's eyes found mine, and, for a split second, I saw the boy I met at 22. Reckless, hungry, charming. Then it was gone, and the man who hurt me looked like a stranger in my husband's shape. You'll regret this, he hissed. I regret not doing it sooner, I said. They cuffed him. Ava's hand hovered near my blanket, not touching. If this is real, she whispered. If you're really... I am, I said, and felt the ground shift under both of us. She tucked the photo into my palm. Keep it, she said. I have it memorized. As they led Evan away, he twisted, face contorted. Ava, don't be stupid. We have plans. We had lies, she said, and each word landed like a nail. I'm done. The room exhaled with him gone. Delgado sat. Rios paced. Tasha collapsed into a chair and whispered, Holy... and then remembered the nurse and said, Heck. I stared at the photo until the edges cut my fingers. Family is a blade and a bandage. Sometimes you don't know which one you're holding until you bleed. I looked up at Ava, at the wishbone that had haunted our family for decades, and made a decision that felt like stepping into cold river water. Do you want to know me? I asked. Her chin trembled. Yes, she said, and the S sounded like hope. The first quiet after a storm is never real quiet. It's the house listening to itself creak. That night, the hospital dimmed to night mode. monitors blinking like patient fireflies. And I lay awake, the photo Ava gave me under my pillow, like a talisman that weighed 1,000 pounds. I should have slept for a century. Instead, I kept hearing Evan's last words. "You'll regret this," and counting my breaths like Janelle taught me. 4 in, 4 hold, 8 out. The air scissored the ache under my rib, but it kept me from spinning. Delgado came back at 9:30 with a manila envelope and a look that said she'd been fighting other fires for me while I stared at ceiling tiles. "Good and bad," she said, pulling up a chair. "Start with the bad," I whispered. "I like my dessert later." She slid over 3 glossy photos. "Your Subaru's dashcam cable? Sliced. Not torn. Clean cut. And the brake line cap, loosened. Not enough to fail on a dry road, but compromised. Add snow, it's Russian roulette." She tapped the second photo. "Glove compartment fingerprints. Yours. And Evan's. From 3 days before the crash." It felt like heat and cold at once, like the body can't pick a lane. "He wanted a failure he could blame on weather." She nodded. "We also found a policy application for a $500,000 life insurance rider on you, submitted online from your apartment IP. Signature is yours, but not yours." I stared at my hands, the small scar from slicing bagels, the silver notch on my pointer from a college bike crash. These hands have typed lesson plans and made rent and held a man who said I was his home. He used them anyway. "Now the good," Delgado said softer. "A judge signed the injunction. He can't touch a dime. And Rios pulled a box from your great-uncle's safety deposit. Walt kept books, Nora. Actual books." "Books?" She opened the envelope and slid out a small, black oilskin ledger. It looked like it belonged in a Western. Creased spine, pages thin as communion wafers. My name was inside the front flap in Walt's tidy caps, and under it, "For Nora. Use if the dogs start barking." A laugh escaped me. Half grief, half awe. Of course Walt would leave a map, not a message. "What is it?" I turned the first page. Columns, sums, initials I didn't recognize. Then acronyms I did. LLCs that lived like ghosts in the Secretary of State's database. Shell companies stacked like teacups. Transfers hopping from Wyoming to Delaware to a bank in Curacao. And names. Not famous ones. Not the kind on billboards. Useful ones. A county assessor, a transportation inspector, a branch manager at a regional bank. Walt's neat check marks marched down the page like little gallows. Rios, leaning in the doorway, whistled low. "Your great-uncle ran his empire clean, but he kept receipts on the men who didn't. He called it rain insurance." I flipped to a tabbed section and stopped. Evan's name, E. Bennett, didn't appear, but a recent entry did. Borealis Capital, intro via H. Drake. Rumor, hungry operator with appetite for shortcuts. The date was 2 months before my crash. "Borealis is Evan's new job," I said. "They hired him after his big pitch." Rios nodded. H. Drake is head of operations at Borealis. He also sits on the board of a transportation safety nonprofit that lobbies to keep certain, inspections optional. One of the men in Walt's book. I want this copied 6 ways and buried where no one can find it unless I say. My voice surprised me. It had iron in it. If Evan has friends who don't like sunlight, we just flip their rock. Delgado closed the ledger gently, like tucking in a child. "We'll scan and seal, but, Nora, this book is dynamite. Use it wrong, it blows in our hands. Use it right, and it scares predators off the porch." I nodded, then glanced at the clock. "Where's Ava?" The question came out before I could stop it, like a reflex. "In a guest room upstairs," Rios said. "We didn't want her going home to a condo Evan knows. Your friend Tasha's with her." That should have been enough to let me sleep. It wasn't. Sometime after midnight, the hallway fell into that deep hospital silence that isn't really silent, and I let my eyes close. I woke to the click of my door. I didn't move. You learn, growing up around men who drink moods for breakfast, stillness buys you a second. Footsteps, soft, careful. The shadow that slid along the curtain was small, feminine. Then the privacy divider shifted, and she was there, hood up, face hidden, body tight as a wire. She moved to my tray, to the envelope, to where the ledger had been an hour ago. "Looking for something?" I said, and the whisper sawed her spine in half. She gasped, fumbled, and in the fumbling the hood slipped. Not Ava. My mother. Fear and fury slammed into me so hard I tasted metal. Mom? She froze like a kid who got caught with the cookie jar at 58. Baby, she breathed. I was trying to… Rob me? I gripped the bedrail, the room tilting. You were trying to rob me. Keep your voice down, she hissed, glancing at the door. You have no idea what's in that book. Then enlighten me, because every time you say for your own good, a trapdoor opens somewhere. She flinched, then straightened, chin out, like she was about to sell me something I didn't need. I borrowed from people when you were little, not banks. Walt bailed me out once and held it over my head for 20 years. That ledger? It's a leash, Nora. Whoever has it can yank us both by the neck. Us? The word scraped. You mean you? She took a step closer, hand up in plea. I am begging you. Give it to me, or burn it. And why sneak in like a thief instead of asking? Her mouth pinched. Because I knew you'd say no. Because you always say no to me when I'm drowning. Somewhere down the hall, a monitor beeped long. I laughed, low and ragged. You taught me to swim by throwing me in the deep end and letting me figure out which way was up. Her eyes glittered. That's not fair. Neither is stealing from your daughter in a hospital bed. I reached for the call button. She lunged. Pain scalded my clavicle as she grabbed my wrist, hard. A stupid teenage fury climbed my throat. I yanked back. The water carafe tipped. The recorder thunked. The room erupted in a clatter that dragged night nurses from the station. Janelle burst in first, eyes a storm. Ma'am, step away from my patient. 2 orderlies flanked her, big and calm and immovable. My mother looked small between them, like a firework after it dies, smoke without the pretty. Delgado's head appeared behind Janelle's shoulder, hair mussed, eyes sharp. Ms. Green, she said, cool as ice chips. Good to see you again. She flicked a look at me that asked everything. I nodded once. We'll treat this as trespass and attempted interference with protected evidence. Unless Nora wants otherwise. Mom's expression cracked. Rage, then fear, then that old practiced sadness she used like mascara. Nora, I raised you alone. I did what I had to do. I wanted to be the woman who climbed out of bed and hugged her, who forgave decades in a single swallow. Instead, I was the woman who had to pick her. Janelle, I said, voice steady. Please escort my mother out. If she comes back tonight, call security and the police. Mom's chin went stiffer. You'll regret this, she snapped. I almost smiled. Funny, he said the same thing. She lunged like she might say more, but the orderlies guided her gently, firmly, into the hall. The door shut with a soft click that sounded like a chapter ending and a trap arming. My hands shook. Janelle tucked the blanket around me like it could hold parts in. You breathe, honey, she murmured. You breathe and you let the rest of us earn our paychecks tonight. Tasha slipped in a minute later, hair wild, socks mismatched, Ava behind her with wide, wet eyes. Your mom? Tosh asked, incredulous. Yeah, I said, and a laugh hitched out of me. Apparently betrayal is a family hobby. Ava took one step closer. It doesn't have to be, she whispered. I stared at her, this stranger with my mouth and a necklace my mother gave away, and felt something uncoil, not forgiveness, not yet, but a willingness to try. No, I said, it doesn't. Delgado placed the ledger back in the envelope and set it on the rolling tray like an altarpiece. Tomorrow, she said, we make calls. Press, regulators, a friendly DA who likes cleaning house. We don't swing wild, we swing clean. And Evan? I asked, voice sandpaper. Rios checked his phone. He made bail, he said. Of course he did, he's out. The room went colder. Somewhere in the coil of my rib pain, a steady drumbeat began. Not fear, not anymore. Readiness. Then we make sure he can't hide under rocks, I said. We flip them all. Outside, the snow had stopped. The parking lot shone black and dangerous under the lights. Somewhere out there, men who liked shortcuts were feeling their collars itch without knowing why. I lay back, tucked my sister's photo beneath my pillow again, and told myself out loud, like a blessing and a dare, I'm not prey. Morning cracked open with a tray of oatmeal I couldn't taste and a headline I couldn't ignore. Tasha had her phone tilted toward me, face grim. Local investor accuses wife of fraud, mental instability. The photo was of me, eyes half-lidded from morphine, hair greasy, hospital gown crooked on one shoulder. The caption beneath, source close to the Bennett family says Mrs. Nora Bennett is mentally unfit and may have falsified estate documents to seize a multi-million-dollar fortune. The source close? Evan, obviously. He'd gone to the press, painted me as a schemer who'd lost her grip. Rios cursed softly. Classic play. Discredit the victim before charges stick. My breath went thin. If he convinces the public, he poisons the jury pool. Delgado's jaw tightened. We'll counter, but for now, Nora, you need to understand, he's going nuclear. I looked at Ava, who hovered in the corner, eyes wide. She whispered, He said you had episodes, that you'd begged him to keep it private. Rage clawed up my throat. Episodes? I barked a laugh. The only episode I had was marrying him. Delgado tapped the ledger envelope. We leak a sliver, just enough to remind Borealis and their friends that Evan's not a savior, he's a liability. They'll cut him off before they burn with him. But that puts a target on you, Tasha said. Then let them aim, I said. I'm done hiding. By noon, the story had flipped. Local blogs were chewing on new meat. Whistleblower ledger links Borealis exec to suspicious payments. No names yet, just shadows. But shadows make men nervous. That evening, during visiting hours, I got my proof. The elevator dinged, and Evans strutted onto my floor, flanked by 2 Borealis suits, all in polished coats, smiles that didn't touch their eyes. A cameraman followed. Press, or someone hired to look like press. My stomach coiled, but I forced a smile. He leaned against the doorway, hands in pockets like he owned the hinges. You wanted an audience? Here we are. You brought cameras into a hospital, I said. You brought lies into my life, he countered smoothly. I'm here to correct the record. He gestured at me. Go ahead, Nora. Tell the world about your imaginary millions. Tell them about your fantasy sister. Ava's breath hitched behind me. She's not imaginary, she snapped. She's me. Evan's smirk faltered. Ava, sweetheart, don't let her drag you into her delusion. But Ava stepped forward, necklace gleaming. My birth records list Melissa Green. My adoption papers were sealed. But the hospital tag... She pulled the photo from her bag, the same one she'd shown me. Matches the scar on my shoulder. Nora is my sister. You lied to both of us. The suits shifted uneasily. The cameraman zoomed in. Evan's mask cracked. You ungrateful... he started, but Rios appeared at his elbow. Recorder raised. Keep talking, Rios said calmly. Every word is evidence. Evan spun, trying to leave, but the officer from last night stepped into the hall. Court order, Mr. Bennett. You're barred from contact with Mrs. Bennett until hearing. You're in violation. The suits backed away. The cameraman muttered, Hell of a clip, and packed up. For the first time, Evan looked cornered. Not furious, not smug, cornered. You'll regret this, he spat, but the words sounded smaller this time. Funny, I said, my voice steady. That line's losing its punch. He left with his shadows, the elevator swallowing him whole. I sat back, pulse hammering, Ava's hand brushing mine in silent solidarity. For the first time in weeks, I believed we might actually win. You know that feeling when you think you've hit the bottom of a well, but your feet find air instead of stone? That was me the next morning when Delgado spread new pages across my tray. The ledger wasn't just names, she said. Walt was meticulous. He tracked family, too. Look here. My eyes fell on a column marked Adoptions 1997-2000. My chest went ice. In careful block letters, A. Green, placement arranged via Drake contact. Drake, I whispered. The same Drake at Borealis? Rios nodded grimly. Walt suspected Harold Drake brokered off-the-books adoptions. Quiet deals for cash. He listed Ava's as one, meaning someone paid for her placement. I looked at Ava, whose face had drained of color. She shook her head, voice cracking. No, my parents are good people. They wanted me. They did, Delgado said gently. But someone else handled the paperwork. If Drake was middleman, Evan has leverage. He knew before we did. I pressed a fist to my ribs, where the pain was deeper than bone. So he didn't just find her, he hunted her, with a map Walt left behind. Ava's hand trembled as she traced her name. He told me he'd uncovered my file through reunion services. He described my birth scar. He said... She swallowed. He said my birth family abandoned me, that I was lucky he wanted me. The cruelty of it seared my throat. He stole you twice, I whispered. Ava's tears spilled, fast and hot. Why would he do that? Because nothing's darker than a man who thinks love is leverage, Tasha said flatly from the window. Delgado leaned in. If Drake orchestrated her adoption, and Borealis is shielding him, Evan isn't acting alone. He's a pawn and a hammer. They want that ledger out of your hands, Nora. And if they can't have it? I asked. Rios didn't sugarcoat. They'll silence you, one way or another. The machines beside me ticked louder, like they were counting down. Then we hit first, I said, surprising even myself. We take this ledger straight to daylight. Delgado raised a brow. Press? Bigger, I said. Court. Ava wiped her face, chin setting hard. If this proves my adoption was tainted, I want it public. No more shadows, no more secrets. You're sure? Delgado asked. I've lived with lies long enough, she said. I'd rather choke on truth than be fed poison. I looked at her, this girl who shared my mouth and my blood, who'd been twisted into Evan's scheme. And I felt something new, not just rage, resolve. Then we burned their playhouse down, I said. The hearing was set for Thursday. Protective order, financial injunction review. Just procedural, Delgado said. Just paper. But paper makes fire when the right words are on it. The courthouse smelled like varnish and nerves. Cameras flashed outside, shouting questions that blurred into static. Did you fake your injuries? How much is the inheritance? Is Ava Hart really your sister? Inside, the courtroom hummed with Borealis suits, lawyers slick as oil. Evan sat at the defense table, cuffs off, hair perfect, smile sharp. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was the victim, not me. When the judge called my name, I stood slow, ribs screaming, but head high. Delgado handed over the ledger. Your Honor, Exhibit A, Walt Green's financial records, containing not only evidence of Mr. Bennett's attempted fraud, but also Mr. Drake's participation in illicit adoptions, one of which involves Ms. Hart, seated behind me. A murmur rippled. The judge raised a hand. Order! Evan's lawyer shot up. Objection, irrelevant, smear tactics. Delgado didn't blink. Relevance is clear. Mr. Bennett sought to exploit this adoption, weaponizing Ms. Hart against my client. The ledger shows motive and method. This isn't smear, it's pattern. Evan leaned forward, voice low but carrying. She's hallucinating. She's on meds. She doesn't know what she's saying. I turned, slowly, and met his eyes. I know exactly what I'm saying. You tried to kill me. Gasps flared. The judge banged her gavel. Order! Delgado rose. We have photographs of tampered brake lines, insurance applications forged, and, most damning, Mr. Bennett's own digital searches about fatal intersections and inheritance law, dated weeks before the crash. The lawyer sputtered. Fabricated! Recovered directly from Borealis servers, Rios said from the gallery, voice like steel. For the first time, Evan's mask cracked. His eyes darted to Drake, seated 2 rows back, who glared daggers. That's when I knew. We'd hit something bigger. Ava stood, voice shaking but loud. He told me I was disposable, that if Nora didn't sign, I'd regret meeting her. He said family is just leverage. The judge's face darkened. Ms. Hart, are you under duress? Yes, Ava said chin high, but not anymore. The judge called recess. Court security swarmed, whispers flying like hornets. I sat, shaking, heart pounding, but alive. For once, Evan wasn't the loudest voice in the room. Recess should have meant water fountains and whispered strategy. Instead, it meant chaos. We were halfway down the corridor when Evan slipped his handlers. He moved like a man with nothing left to lose. Fast, desperate. In 2 strides, he was on us. Give me the book, he roared, lunging for the envelope in Delgado's arms. Security shouted. People scattered. Evan slammed into me, ribs screaming. My back hit the wall, vision white. His hands clawed for my throat. Sign it, he spat, flecks of spit hot on my cheek. Sign the transfer or we both go down. Ava screamed. Rios grabbed him from behind, but Evan swung wild, fist cracking bone. Blood sprayed. Rios staggered. Evan wrenched free, hand finding a shard of glass from a broken frame. He pressed it to Ava's throat. She's nothing, he bellowed. She's leverage. Give me the ledger or she bleeds. The hallway froze. My breath felt like knives. Ava's eyes locked on mine. Wide, wet, but steady. She shook her head. Just once. Don't give in. Delgado whispered, Nora, don't. But it was my sister's blood on the line, my half of the same storm. I raised my hands slow. Evan, listen to me. He snarled, pressing the glass harder. Ava winced. You said I was dead weight, I whispered. But look at me now. I'm the only one who can save you. You kill her, you bury yourself. You let her go, maybe there's still a deal. Maybe you walk with something. He hesitated, just a flicker. His grip faltered. Ava twisted. The glass nicked skin, a red bead blooming, but she drove her elbow back into his gut. He wheezed. Rios surged forward, pinning his arm. Security piled in. The glass clattered. Evan went down, thrashing, screaming promises of revenge no one believed anymore. I stumbled forward, hands on Ava's face, checking for blood. Are you? I'm fine, she panted. Then she collapsed against me, both of us shaking. The judge herself appeared in the chaos, gavel clenched like a weapon. Mr. Bennett, you've just written your own sentence. They dragged him away, cuffed and broken, shouting until the doors swallowed his voice. I held Ava, my sister, in that courthouse hallway, ledger clutched in Delgado's white-knuckled grip, and realized something sharp and clear. Evan thought money was power. He was wrong. Truth was, and we had it now. Courtrooms smell like sweat in suits and old wood polish. The day of sentencing, autumn had snapped the air cold, and I sat in the gallery with Ava beside me, both of us dressed in black like armor. Evan shuffled in wearing orange. Gone was the polished man who had strutted in with cameras. His hair was greasy, jaw hollow, hands cuffed. He looked small, but small things can still bite. The judge read charges like a hymn: fraud, forgery, attempted poisoning, conspiracy, assault. Each word pressed weight into the air until you could feel the benches creak. Evan tried one last stand, voice raised. "Your Honor, this is all fabricated. He jabbed a cuffed hand toward me. She's unstable. She orchestrated this to steal my career, my future." "Enough," the judge barked. "The evidence is overwhelming. Your future is prison. 12 years minimum, with eligibility for parole in 10. Consecutive to charges pending in federal court regarding Borealis. Sentence imposed." The gavel slammed, sharp as bone. For a beat, silence. Then Evan twisted in his cuffs, eyes blazing at me. "Nora, you'll regret this till your last breath. You think truth saves you? Truth destroys everyone." I didn't flinch. "Then we'll rebuild from rubble." The bailiffs dragged him out. His threats echoed down the corridor until the heavy doors swallowed him whole. I felt Ava's fingers slip into mine, trembling, warm. "He can't touch us anymore." "No," I whispered, staring at the ledger Delgado held like scripture. "But his friends can." 6 months later, I stood outside a brick building with Second Roots Foundation, painted in bold letters above the door. Snow laced the gutters, breath curled from my mouth, and beside me Ava jingled keys like they were bells. "This feels unreal," she said. "It feels overdue," I corrected. We had used part of Walt's inheritance, not to buy cars or beach houses, but to launch what he probably meant all along, a place for women caught in crisis pregnancies, and for adoptees who wanted truth without shadows. Ava ran the records program, tracing threads, legally, ethically, no shortcuts. I managed grants and outreach, turning the ledger's poison into medicine. The rest of the inheritance stayed locked in a trust. Money is like fire. It cooks or it burns, and I'd learned to respect flame. Some nights we sat on my apartment balcony with mugs of tea, staring at the scar of the courthouse across town. Ava would tell stories about her childhood, good parents, piano recitals, rebellion that looked like a pink streak in her hair, and I would listen, greedy for details I'd missed. "You're not a replacement," she told me once, firm. "You're an addition." I cried, messy and grateful. Because family, I'd learned, isn't about who left or who lied. It's about who stays when the ground collapses. On the anniversary of the crash, Delgado called me back to her office. She looked tired, but her eyes glittered. "We found something else in Walt's papers." She slid across a sealed envelope, yellowed with age. My name on the front. Inside, a letter in Walt's tight script. "Nora, if you're reading this, then the money has already complicated your life." I didn't leave it for comfort. I left it because you, unlike the others, know sacrifice. You know that truth costs, and only those willing to bleed for it can wield power without corruption. The fortune is secondary. The ledger is the real inheritance. Use it to clean what I could not. Use it to build what I never had. Family, honest and chosen. Don't let dogs guard the henhouse. Burn their kennels if you must. W. I sat there, letter trembling in my hands, breath caught like I'd swallowed a storm. He hadn't left me money, he'd left me a mission. When I showed Ava, she laughed through tears. "He knew you," she said, "even if you barely knew him." That night we drove to the intersection where my old life ended. Snow fell light, quiet. The sapling we'd planted there was taller now, thin but sturdy, its branches tipped with ice. I laid the letter at its roots, let snow wet the ink. Ava touched my arm. "Do you regret it?" I stared at the road, the ghosts of tire marks long gone. I regret believing love meant shrinking myself. I regret letting a man teach me fear. But this? I looked at her, my sister, alive and fierce. This, I don't regret. We stood together, breath mingling, as headlights cut past and the tree shivered in the cold. It would bloom come spring, and so would we. If you've stayed with me through this whole nightmare, thank you. I'm still learning to breathe without looking over my shoulder, still learning to trust when people say they'll stay. But I know this: survival is louder than betrayal. Evan thought he could erase me. Instead, he introduced me to my sister. He thought money could cage me. Instead, it bought freedom for others. And he thought truth would destroy me. Instead, it saved me. If my story touched you, please subscribe, share this video, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Next week, I'll tell you about another woman whose husband's business trips weren't about business at all, and how one receipt at a gas station blew her whole world apart. Sometimes destruction is just creation in disguise.